Welcome to the Florida Gateway College podcast, hashtag FGCXP. You can get this and every episode on our YouTube channel or through your preferred podcast provider. All right, for today's episode, I have Mr. Tracey Higdon with me. Tracey, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
All right, so could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Tracey Higdon. I run the fire program here at Florida Gateway College.
So what made you interested in wanting to pursue a career in firefighting?
Well, I guess I was a bit of a late bloomer. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I finished high school and I took some college, but I was still a little aimless. I got a job with the city of Gainesville in the utilities department because I needed to have a job, but I still wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. A few years in, I actually talked with my uncle at a family reunion one day. He asked me what I was doing and what I was interested in, and I knew that he had worked in the fire department. He actually worked at Gainesville Fire Rescue, but had retired. So I knew he had done that, but I didn't know much more than that. And he asked me, have you thought about getting into the fire service? And he started talking to me about it. It sounded interesting. And I started to look into more seriously what it would take to do that. And it just so happened, about the same time, one of my best friends that I grew up with, he was also interested in getting into the fire service. And he had signed up for the EMT program, the Emergency Medical Technician program. And he was telling me about that. And again, it sounded pretty interesting. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll give this thing a shot. So I took the EMT program. I did that. And then the next step for me was to go to fire school. Well, I was working for the city utility department already full time. So it really wasn't an option for me to quit that job or pause it for 3 months to go to fire school. So I found a program that offered a night and weekend type program, allowed me to go, a non-traditional schedule. We would go 2 nights during the week and then all day on Saturday. And of course, it took longer. Instead of, at the time, 12 weeks to go through the program, it took me 27 weeks. But my friend that I had grown up with, he got into the same class that I did, and we were able to make that trip, driving back and forth to class, and went through that program together.
So it sounds like even though your family member was persuading you, you needed somebody, a peer, to really kind of drive you to get there.
It certainly helped to have, a friend that would kind of go through that with you, because there's a lot of good and, there's some tough spots. And so it was good to have somebody to, bounce that off of and share that with. Made it through the program. I applied for Gainesville Fire Rescue. Did not get hired the first time. I applied again the second time they had an opening the following year, and I was able to get hired. And I spent 25 years at Gainesville Fire Rescue.
So what were some of the roles you had with Gainesville Fire and Rescue?
Well, I started obviously as a firefighter EMT. I became a driver, promoted to lieutenant. I became a paramedic along the way. And my final rank was a lieutenant paramedic on an engine company. I did take their district chief testing process. I rode that list for a little while, rode out of class in that position. But I was pretty happy being a lieutenant on an engine. And that's where I spent most of my career.
Really, you chose the profession based on an opinion of somebody, and that a friend went with you, and that you're kind of career searching at that point. Do you regret it at all, or are you very satisfied with the career that you had?
I do not regret it a bit. I loved it. I loved every minute of the career, even the moments that were tough. I loved it. It's a great job, not just because of the job and being able, to help people that need it, but just the camaraderie that you build with the crews, and it really becomes a second family.
So you talked about the camaraderie with your crews, being able to help people at obvious times of need. In your opinion, what was the most rewarding part of being a firefighter?
I would say that there were some calls that me and my crew went to that I think we made a difference. I think we made a positive change on a bad situation. And it's not every call every time, but there's moments. And you never know when that moment is going to be there. But we had some chances to, save people's property. We pulled some people out of some buildings that were burning, and those people, lived and spent time with their family after that. And so it's nice to know that you had a chance to help someone that needed that.
Is there any specific memory that stands out among the other ones?
I do have some memories that stand out. It's not all the dramatic ones like that. Some of them are just funny moments. We've always had this running joke that if you made a movie about what the fire service actually is and what it actually does and the things they actually go to, no one would believe it. You'd think it's just completely made up because people call for anything. If they don't know what to do, they call 911 and the fire department goes. It doesn't matter what it is. And so you see some of the craziest stuff, you see some of the funniest stuff, but it's always interesting. You never know where you're going to be in the next 5 minutes. And so you never know what the next thing is going to be.
Sounds fascinating. So you have this career at Gainesville Fire and Rescue. What made you interested in teaching the next generation and becoming a college instructor?
I would say that's twofold. Several years ago, actually after September 11th, 2001, I started working with a company that did instruction, mostly in the hazardous materials response world. And that company, they did a lot of things. My role, I did a lot of hazmat teaching, some at fire departments, some with hospitals, some with law enforcement. And it gave me a good experience to what teaching was about. I learned a lot. It's really true that if you want to know something, teach it because you have to know it to teach it. And so that was interesting to me. I enjoyed the people that I work with doing that. And it gave me I met a lot of really good people that really helped me and helped develop me as an instructor. Sidebar to that, as I promoted up through the fire department, and especially whenever I started riding out of class as a lieutenant and then promoted to a lieutenant, whenever they do a hiring process, I would get the new guy, the rookie. And so my job would be to help them go through their probational task book and to just show them real life skills. And so I did the instruction from both sides of that. And I just always enjoyed it. I like to pass on things that I've learned. And one of the things that I've learned is that real life doesn't always follow the textbook. And so I like to show them, here's what the book says. These are the things you should look for, but also here's what real life will bring you. And here's how to adapt to some of those situations. So I was able to weave that through both of those avenues to teach.
That's great. How long have you been with the college now?
Almost 3 years now. Full-time, 3 years. I was an adjunct instructor for about 2 years before I came to this full-time position.
So you oversee two programs here. You oversee the Firefighter Minimum Standards Occupational Certificate Program, and you also oversee the Fire Science Technology AS program.
That's correct.
We're going to start by talking about the Firefighter Minimum Standards program first. Could you tell me a little bit about the program length and the application process for that program?
Yeah, to become Fire 2 certified, the state breaks it into two parts, Fire 1 and Fire 2. To become state certified as a Fire 2, our program is 1 semester. So it's about 16 weeks. It follows the school semester. Our program is shift-based, meaning we have class 1 day, and then they're off 2 days, and then they come back for a day, and then off 2 days. And the flip of that is we have class 2 days on and 1 day off. And I know that sounds a little confusing, but it kind of mirrors what a shift would be. Most departments do a 24-48 schedule. Some have varied from that, but usually it's 1 day on, 2 days off. And so we do class similar to that. We actually typically have two classes that go at the same time, an A class and a B class. So one class is doing the 1 on 2 off. The other class is doing the 2 on 1 off. So we have class every day. It's just a matter of which group is actually there. And it runs 7 days a week. It runs through the weekends and everything, just like a shift would when someone's on the job. But they get it all done within that semester.
How can somebody who is interested in pursuing this career apply for a position in the firefighter program?
Well, the easiest answer is to call me. They can contact me. They can go through the website, the school website, fgc.edu, and get some information. But ultimately, they'll need to talk with me or one of the instructors about the actual application process. The first thing I do when somebody comes to my office and they say, hey, I want to try this thing out, I ask them if they know someone that's in the fire service, friend, relative, somebody. And if they do, I tell them, go talk to that person. Get the behind the scenes information and learn about this. If they don't know anybody in the fire service, I usually encourage them to go down to their local fire station and knock on the door, and whoever answers the door say, hey, I'm interested in this, tell me about the job. And they will. They'll be honest with you. Because it is a fantastic career, but it is not for everybody. Some people get into the program and they decide, nope, this is not what I thought it was. This is not what I want to do. And before they get too involved, I usually encourage them to learn a little bit about the program.
That is such a great idea because there are so many students, myself included, who get into a program and by the time they realize it's not for them, they're in too deep.
Yep.
Or they get a degree that they don't really necessarily want to use. So you're having students who are interested either speak with somebody who they know as a relative or go speak with a firefighter is a great strategy to help weed out those who may not necessarily want to do this, but they're excited about it nonetheless.
Right. If all they've ever done is watch a movie or a TV show, it's not really like that. So, that's why I want them to talk to somebody. And then once they've done that, once they've made the decision they want to move forward with it, then I walk them through the application process to get into the program and go from there.
So once somebody is in the program itself, what are some of the skills that they need to learn and the requirements to end up matriculating through the program?
We start with baby steps and we build on that. Literally, day one, we teach them, here's what the fire service is, and this is the bunker gear, the PPE that you're going to wear, and we teach them how to properly put it on. And they put it on, and they take it off, and they put it on, and they take it off, and they do that for day one. We just teach them how to get dressed. And then we build on that as we go through the program. We build into using respiratory protection, how to do forcible entry on doors and windows, things like that, how to search a building if they find a victim, how to move that victim to safety, how to obviously extinguish a fire. We have several live burns through the program, and so we teach them how to do all these tasks, and then we teach them how to do it in what we call an IDLH environment, immediately dangerous to life and health. And so it's one thing to do it in a controlled setting. It's another thing to do it when it's hot and smoky or there's fire rolling over your head, and that sometimes that's a game changer for some people, and sometimes those are the days people decide that this might not be what they want to do. But usually when we get them to that point, they love it and they want to do more. We get into vehicle extrication, how to safely remove somebody from a vehicle. We have a section where we do a hazardous materials response. There's information on that. And one of the big drivers of the curriculum is the state. They provide what's called performance objectives. There's several dozen of those that they have to do. And so we have to teach the students all of these skills. And then when the state examiner comes out, after they've completed the program, the state will randomly pick 1, 2, 3 of those POs and test them on those. And so they don't know which ones are going to be, so they're expected to know all of them.
You mentioned the live burns. Could you describe how those live burns are, the building, the temperature, how it's set up, some of the maneuvers that firefighter students are required to do during that exercise?
Yeah, so our building it's an engineered building, meaning it's designed to do live burns in there. It's a Class A material, so we burn all wood products. We use 2 of the floors to actually do burns. The state requires us to do 3 levels: at grade, below grade, and above grade. So we set the fire either on the first floor or the second floor, and they will come in on the first floor and attack the fire. If the fire's on the first floor, they'll go upstairs, come in and come downstairs, simulating below grade like a basement fire. And obviously, if we set it on the second floor, they go upstairs to do an above grade. The way the building is designed, we use wood products and a barrel with pallets in there. The rooms are controlled. We have what we call a burn room manager, safety officer that's going to be inside. They have their own line. So they maintain conditions in the building, and the crews rotate through, advancing their own line in or searching the building. We have sandbag dummies that simulate people. So we have everything from a full-grown adult to a little baby. and everything in between. So they're searching for those, and then if they find a victim, their goal is to get that victim to safety as quickly as possible, to take them to the exit, wherever the exit is. Temperatures in there, it depends on what we're doing with the building. At the seat of the fire, it's easily 1,000 degrees at the seat of the fire, at the ceiling. But once you get away from that, down where the students are crawling and maneuvering, it's anywhere, between 150 to 250 degrees, kind of where they're at, about 2 or 3 feet off the floor. At ceiling temperatures, it can get, pretty hot, but we teach them to stay low because of that.
Right, heat rises. That makes sense. One thing that this program is very famous for at FGC is the fitness part of it. Could you tell us a little bit about what you all do for fitness?
Yeah, so physical fitness and mental fitness is a big part of our program. Those two things are very, very important. As far as physical fitness, PT is part of our program every day. We open class with PT. Our philosophy is that we know when a group of people come into the program, they are at different levels physically because they're humans. They're all different. And when they leave the program, they're still going to be at different levels. We just want them to be better. The goal is for them to be better. So wherever they start, we just want them to be better. And to be honest, we're not training them to be superior athletes. We're not training them to have a beach body. We're training them to be functional firefighters. That is our goal. And so the movements that we do, the workouts that we do are functional based. It's a movement that a firefighter would do, or it's, cardiovascular, leg strength, things like that. We don't lift weights or anything like that. We drag hose, we carry sandbags, things like that, but you don't come to our program and bench press your way through fire school. We're going to do functional fitness. And then we ramp that up. Day one, we don't go as hard as we do, on week 12. So we baby step that as well and build up on that.
The instructors participate in PT,
Absolutely.
correct?
Absolutely.
And that's a very important thing for this program, is that an instructor is going to be willing to do anything that they ask students to do.
Yeah, I think the instructors should be the role model. And so the instructors, myself included, I want to set the standard, and I'm not going to ask a student to do anything that I'm not going to be out there doing as well. And so we participate with them in PT. We go in the burns with them. We're dressed in the same gear, doing the same thing in the same environment, and we try to teach them, the best ways to do these things. And I think that builds respect. I think it builds camaraderie.
I agree with you. I think it's so important that as leaders, it's important that those under us see that we're willing to do any task. And I think that's a great standard that you set, and the students definitely are embracing that. Once a student finishes and matriculates through the program, what is the process for them to find jobs?
So once it becomes state certified, most departments in Florida are requiring fire certification and EMT certification as entry level. So if they don't already have EMT, most students will go to EMT school after that. But many already have it. So they've done that, then they come to the fire program. Once that's completed, we actually have a recruitment day that we do near the end of our program. The fire group and the EMT group and the paramedic group at FGC, we pick a day and we invite chiefs and their representatives from all over the area, and they come try to recruit these students to apply for them. And, it's pretty common to have 10 or 15 departments represented at these things, and they're all hiring multiple people. It's a really good time to get into the service. And so, I tell the students, when they graduate, if they don't have a job, they're not trying. It might not be the dream job. It might not be the department they think they want to go to. That will open up, but they can certainly get a job. And most of these departments are, they have upped their game on what they're offering a new recruit to come in. So they all leave with jobs.
That's so important, that your students understand through what you say that the first job is not necessarily the job that you want. Most people end up matriculating through different jobs in different areas to be able to advance. You didn't have that experience because you just worked with Gainesville the whole time. But I can know from my personal experience, I worked at several institutions before I ended up here, and I think that's common with most people. So having that grounded perspective and realistic expectation, I think, is really important.
Yeah, and I tell people, to be open-minded about it. We have some students that on day one, they think, I want to work at X department because they heard something good about them, or they have a relative that works there, or a friend or whatever. And I tell them, listen, be open-minded, because, a lot of the departments, like I said, have really upped their game on what they are paying, what their benefits are, what their schedule is. And so you compare two departments 20 years ago and those same two departments today, it's a different comparison. And so, I tell them it really doesn't matter what the name on the truck is. You need to look at what they have to offer and what you can offer that department and see if they're going to be a good fit.
Right. It needs to be a symbiotic relationship. So a student becomes a firefighter, and now we have a new program. They can attend the Fire Science Technology Associate of Science program. This is a new program that the college has just finished developing. We are in the process of having our first cohort go through right now this semester. Could you tell us a little bit about the Fire Science AS program?
Yeah, so it's a series of classes that are geared toward, obviously, the completion of an AS degree in fire science. But these courses also follow a track to become Fire Officer 1, Fire Officer 2, and Investigator and Instructor certified through the state of Florida. The Bureau of Fire Standards has several classes that you need to do each one of these certifications, so we've included those into this pathway. So taking the classes here will offer you not only the chance to sit for those certification exams, for example, Fire Officer 1 or 2, but it will also give you the college credit toward that degree. Most departments, not all, but many departments want you to have a degree as you promote up, especially when you get into, officer level or chief level. They want you to have a degree in certain types of training. Every department's going to be a little different, but most do. So we offer the ability to kind of kill two birds with one stone. You get the certificate credit, but you also get the college credit toward the degree. And we articulate some of this. If you've already have been through Fire 1 and Fire 2, we will articulate some of those credits. And we look at your work experience and things like that, and, try to give them the best opportunity to efficiently and successfully complete their degree.
So the way that the program is set up is that a student can get the Fire Officer 1 certificate in one semester, then get the Fire Officer 2 certificate in one semester. Could you talk about how that's set up?
Yeah, the classes are set up asynchronous, which essentially means that they will do things. It's not on demand whenever they feel like it. There is a schedule, but they don't have to be physically here on campus. They can do it virtually. They're set up in 4-week blocks. So each class is a 4-week block where you'll interact with the instructor. You'll submit your assignments, whatever the assignments are for that course, and it's done on a weekly basis. And at the end of those 4 weeks, if you've successfully completed all the work, have a passing grade, you get your college credit for that course. And through FCDICE, which is the Division of State Fire Marshals system, we put that in and it tracks that you have taken that course. And so you can do 4 of those for your Fire Officer 1 in one semester because they're back to back. And you can take just the ones that you need, or if you need all of them, we allow you to take all 4 of them in that semester so that it works for scheduling. But the assignments you're able to do, as you can. So there is a schedule, but if you are really busy today or you're at work today and you can't work on it today, you can work on it tomorrow as long as you get your assignments submitted by the end of the week on time.
And the assignments in this program have a real-world application, right?
Yes. So, for example, one of those classes is building construction, for example. That's part of the Fire Officer 1 series. And so some of the assignments a student would do is they have to pick a building, and they have to identify the building type, and they'll have to go either draw a plan or take a video of certain things about that building that apply to that course. Another class is strategy and tactics. And so you'll take some of the knowledge you have from building construction and apply to, if this building were on fire, what are some things that you should consider about that? And so they try to build on themselves. We do course delivery, which is an instructional-based program, and so you have to present and record yourself presenting about a topic, and then you submit that. So all of these things are applicable because once you get on the job, you are going to teach other people how to do the job. You are going to size up buildings and pre-plan buildings. If there's a fire or a problem in this building, what would you do about it? So it kind of builds all of that together.
So when somebody finishes this program, they're going to have an associate's degree, Fire Officer 1 cert, Fire Officer 2 cert, Inspector 1 cert, Instructor 1 cert. So with those 5 credentials, what does that mean for that individual in regards to promotional opportunities?
Again, it's going to be department specific, but most departments, when you reach the company officer level, lieutenant level, they want you to have at least Fire Officer 1. Most departments will. Some require a little more, and then as you move up into district chief, battalion chief type positions, they're going to usually require more than that. Obviously, if you move over into an inspections division where that's your primary job, then you're going to have your inspector certification, things like that. If you want to teach formally, for example, the instructors that are coming through our program, they have to have their at least Instructor 1 certification and another certification called LFTI, Live Fire Training Instructor. And so depending on what the student wants to do with their career will determine how those certifications play in.
Essentially what you're doing is by setting up the program this way, you're opening up a number of doors that the student then is going to become even more marketable because they have the ability to enter any of those doors because they have a wide range of the certifications.
Absolutely.
That's great. So again, like with the firefighter minimum standards, if there's somebody who is interested in becoming a student in the firefighter AS program, what's the process? Is it to go through you again?
Yeah, I can certainly direct them if they want to contact me. I will probably answer all I can, and for those that I can't, I will probably send them to our CTE coordinator. But between the two of us, we will help them get enrolled and start through the pathway. So, yeah, I would be the one to contact.
Perfect. So Florida Gateway College offers 2 firefighter programs headed by Mr. Tracey Higdon. Tracey, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. For this and all other FGCXP podcasts, you can find us on YouTube or through your preferred podcast provider. Thanks for joining us today.